Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into a topic that's reshaping how enterprises build AI systems in 2026. We're talking about agentic AI development, specifically how RAG systems, MCP servers, and multi-agent orchestration are moving from experimental projects into real production environments. Sam, this feels like a turning point moment in AI, doesn't it?
Absolutely. What strikes me most is the data. 72% of organizations have generative AI deployed, but only 23% have actual production-grade agentic systems. That's a massive gap, and it tells us enterprises are still figuring out how to move beyond flashy demos into systems that actually deliver ROI and stay compliant.
Right, so we're not talking about building a chatbot anymore. We're talking about coordinated multi-agent workflows. Can you break down what that actually means in practice?
Sure. Single-agent systems are linear. You ask a question, you get an answer. Multi-agent orchestration means you have specialized agents, a retriever agent, a validator, a synthesizer, working together on complex tasks. Think of it like a team in a company, not a solo operator. The coordination layer becomes critical because these agents need to communicate, share context, and hand off tasks smoothly.
That sounds complex operationally. Let's ground this with the financial services case study from the research. They took compliance queries that used to take 2.5 hours and compressed them to 3 minutes. How did RAG play into that transformation?
That's the perfect example of why RAG is dominating agent design right now. Instead of fine-tuning a model on 500 policy documents, which is expensive, slow, and creates audit nightmares, they built a system that retrieves relevant policies on demand. The vector database does semantic search in milliseconds, the agents validate consistency, and the whole thing produces an audit trail. That's production-grade thinking.
So RAG is essentially saying, don't bake knowledge into the model, retrieve it dynamically when you need it. That sounds simpler, but I imagine the implementation details matter a lot.
Massively. You've got 3 core layers. First, how you chunk and embed your data. Do you use sliding windows, recursive chunking, semantic clustering? Second, context window optimization, Claude 3.5. Sonnet gives you 200K tokens now, so you can maintain deep conversational context without hallucinating. Third, relevance scoring. 2-stage retrieval with re-ranking improves precision by 18 to 25%, which matters in high-stakes domains like healthcare or finance.
Let's talk numbers for a second. Gartner is reporting $47 billion in agentic AI investment globally in 2025 and 2026. Where is that money actually going?
About 40% is going into custom agent SDKs and orchestration platforms. Companies aren't buying off-the-shelf solutions. They're building proprietary systems tailored to their workflows. That makes sense because generic agents don't understand your compliance requirements, your data topology, or your risk profile. You need bespoke orchestration.
Speaking of compliance, the EU AI Act is clearly in the background here. How much is that shaping architectural decisions?
It's huge. Article 13 of the EU AI Act requires high-risk systems to maintain documentation and explainability. RAG gives you that naturally because every answer is tied to retrieved sources. You get audit trails for free. MCP, the Model Context Protocol, layers on top by standardizing how agents talk to tools and data sources. That standardization is actually a compliance advantage, not a burden.
So MCP is the orchestration layer between agents and the external world. Databases, APIs, tools. Why is that becoming critical in 2026?
Because it solves a real pain point. Agents need to interact with external systems, but there's no standard protocol. Every integration becomes a custom bridge. MCP creates a unified interface so that an agent can seamlessly call a database, trigger an API, or query a knowledge base without needing custom connectors for each one. It's like establishing a common language.
And that speeds up deployment, obviously. The research mentions 8 to 14 weeks for Fortune 500 companies to get multi-agent systems production ready. That feels achievable if you have standards like MCP in place.
Exactly. Standardization reduces complexity. What used to be 6 months of custom engineering becomes weeks. But, and this is important, that only works if your architecture is well designed from the start. You can't patch RAG quality or orchestration logic after deployment. The upfront investment in system design pays dividends.
Let me ask about the hallucination problem. RAG systems are reducing hallucination by 35 to 60% compared to what exactly?
Compared to pure LLM responses without retrieval, when you don't ground an agent's answers in retrieved documents, the model generates plausible-sounding but potentially false information. RAG eliminates that because the agent only synthesizes what's actually in your data. For financial compliance or medical advice, that's non-negotiable.
That raises an interesting question. If 81% of enterprises implementing agentic workflows are prioritizing RAG over fine-tuning, what does that say about fine-tuning's role going forward?
Fine-tuning isn't dead, but it's being reframed. Fine-tuning is now useful for teaching agents how to reason or format output consistently. You fine-tune for behavior and style, not for knowledge injection. RAG handles the knowledge layer because it's more auditable and updatable. Combine them strategically, and you get powerful results.
Okay, so let's synthesize this for someone building their first agentic system in 2026. What's the baseline architecture they should be thinking about?
Start with these 4 layers. First, data preparation. Chunk your documents intelligently, embed them into a vector database. Second, retrieval. Build a fast, accurate semantic search layer. Third, orchestration. Design your agent workflow. Which agents do what? How do they communicate? Use MCP as your integration backbone. Fourth, evaluation. Measure cost per inference, latency, accuracy, and compliance risk. Don't deploy without those metrics.
And I imagine compliance documentation starts early, not at the end?
Yes, if your system falls under high-risk classification, decision support, compliance automation, anything touching financial or medical data, you need to map Article 13 requirements into your design from day one. Your RAG audit trail and MCP orchestration logs become part of your compliance package.
So the financial services case study we talked about earlier, they got $0.04 per query versus $15 for manual review. What's the business case lever there?
Scale and speed. At high volume, the cost compression is dramatic. But more importantly, they reduced resolution time from 2.5 hours to 3 minutes. That's a 50x improvement in throughput. For compliance queries that come in constantly, that's a massive productivity unlock. And because every answer is source-cited, the audit burden actually decreases.
That's the move from cost center to value generator. Instead of compliance being a drag on the business, it becomes a competitive advantage.
Precisely. And that's the 2026 shift everyone's chasing. It's not about AI being smart, it's about AI solving real business problems measurably. ROI, not capability benchmarks. That's why orchestration and compliance matter as much as model quality.
If someone's looking to dive deeper into this, whether they're building custom agents, planning RAG architecture, or designing multi-agent systems, we've got a full breakdown on the etherlink.ai website. Go find the article Agentic AI Development 2026, RAG, MCP, and Multi-Agent Orchestration in Production. It's packed with technical details, architectural patterns, and real-world case studies.
And if you're in the EU operating under AI Act constraints, that research is essential reading. It covers the compliance angle directly.
Thanks for breaking this down, Sam. For everyone listening, that's EtherLink AI Insights. We'll be back next time with more on how AI is reshaping enterprise architecture. Take care.